How's it going, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Devin the Bear. We want to give a quick shout out and thank you to everybody who had reached out to us with some positive feedback and some great constructive criticism. And we wanted to give a thank you to Gilberto Galaviz and Hope Era for the cover art and the intro song. So to get right into it, we're going to start off with the UFC Fight Nights card. It was Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum.
And I think the first fight that we're probably going to start with is actually from the prelims. We're going to start with the Gerald Mearshart fight against Bartosz Fabinski, if I'm saying that right. That was a really good fight. It was pretty back and forth. And then Gerald Mearshart that was his 24th submission win. Mm-hmm. So as soon as Fabinski started taking him down, he locked up that guillotine.
Yeah.
And it was within 5 seconds, it went from a standing guillotine to the traditional guillotine to a mounted guillotine, and then he was out cold. From I think it was nearly a Darce choke at that point, but it's still a guillotine.
Yeah.
But dude was out cold in like 5 seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was super impressive by Gerald Mearshart because he kind of had a lot to come in and improve, considering his last fight was that loss to Khamzat Chimaev in like 20 seconds. So it was really, really good to see this guy come in and get that win like that, show off why he is as good at jiu-jitsu as he is. Mm-hmm. And so I was happy to see him get that, like you said, his 24th submission win. And it was quick. I mean, he had that thing tight very, very fast. And
like that dude said, as soon as that guy put his head in the takedown, he had his head off to the side, but you don't do that.
Yeah.
Especially against a guy like Mearshart. That dude is going to look for any kind of limb that's hanging out where it's not supposed to be, and he's going to lock it up immediately, and that's what he did.
He's a scary, scary man, and I'm not sure why people take him to the ground still.
And he's so calm when he fights. He's so calm the whole time. It's so cool just to watch this guy in the middle of a fight have people swinging at him. He doesn't really care. Even against the Chimaev fight, he was cool as a cucumber, that guy.
Yeah. That's what I think what it was, especially in the Chimaev fight. There was a lot of, of the hype coming into that. And I think he looked a little timid whenever they went feet to feet because Chimaev's scary dude. He is. He's a force. And so whenever he was just coming in and walking him down like that, I'm sure Gerald Mearshart was not used to somebody doing that. Probably threw him off a little bit. But it was just it was great to see him back in the win column. Gerald Mearshart is a very cool, humble guy. I mean, a lot of people don't have issues with him. He's fought a lot of different people in the division as well. And so, I mean, he's fought Kevin Holland before, and just to name one name right there. But he's been all over the division. He has a win over Deron Win, which is a big deal also.
I do feel like he needs a couple more wins just like that to put him anywhere in like the top 15. He's definitely got to come back from that knockout loss. But I definitely think he does that.
Yeah.
He's got a whole division of guys looking forward, and he's I think a good matchup for him. Eric Anders. Eric Anders is kind of not having success.
Yeah.
Now that Mearshart's moving back up, he can avenge that loss against Eric Anders. I think that's a great fight. It's another striker grappler fight.
Yeah.
I think Eric Anders is always looking for a challenge. That guy, I think he's great. So I think that would make up for a great matchup. But really excited for Mearshart. Other things that we were excited for that we didn't get to see was Jeremy Stephens and Drakkar Klose. That kind of got ruined.
I was so upset. I was like hyping up with you last week about how excited I was. Then I remember going home to catch up with some friends. They were checking stuff out, and we were talking about that fight. And I was like, man, I can't wait for this fight. These guys don't care. They just want to fight. They have a good time. And I think even before everything had went down, in case you weren't aware of what had happened, at the weigh-ins, they had the official face-off, and Jeremy Stephens and Drakkar Klose got in each other's face. And Jeremy Stephens shoves Drakkar Klose very, very hard. And at first, it just seemed like a shove. But then, come to find out, Drakkar Klose suffered a cervical sprain and a concussion from the shove. So, I mean, to kind of break that
most
down.
Of that impact is going to be because of the weight cut.
Yeah.
I don't think in any other moment he's going to get shoved and have a cervical sprain and have a concussion, but because he was also there right in the middle of a weight cut.
Exactly.
At probably the worst point of the weight cut, which is at the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Then Jeremy Stephens shoved him. It's interesting looking forward to see how the UFC is going to handle situations like that, because every weigh-in, every fight where people get in each other's faces, shoves happen all the time, and it's definitely a dangerous time for them to be shoving each other, but it happens. It's fighting. That's what it is. I don't know. Like with the fights coming up, we're gonna have some interesting face-offs. I think, like with Usman and Masvidal.
Yeah.
So are they gonna try to step in between a lot sooner? Are they gonna try to prevent it just to kind of make everyone feel a bit more comfortable about the safety of these guys? I don't know, but Dana White, I haven't seen him say much about it at all yet, but his main thing was that he was calling out Sean Shelby, their matchmaking guy,
Yeah.
and because he was standing in between them since Dana White wasn't there, he was actually at ESPN cheerleading thing for his daughter, but he was mad at Sean Shelby for not catching Jeremy Stevens closer, but which I mean I get it, but I don't understand at the same time because even if he did get there sooner, which he was already there, but even if he did get there sooner, he's gonna let them get face to face because it's a face off and that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened. Wasn't Dana White there when John Jones and Anthony Johnson almost fought? And I know that was a joke, but he was right in the middle of them. But they were swinging at each other.
Those guys. I mean, if those guys want to fight each other, Dana White's not stopping
he's not going to stop them. And I think he doesn't really stop any of them. I don't care what weight class they're fighters. If that's what they're intent on, that's what's going to happen. But for the most part, they know better. And a shove is just a shove at a weigh-in. But I think maybe they need to not do that so much because it's a dangerous spot to be doing that in.
It was just, I think it was just a very aggressive shove, and it sucks to see it because you want to see those kinds of things. You want to see intense face-offs. I mean, it's very, very entertaining. I like seeing these guys really go out there and they show respect, but like at the face-off, it's like, no, I get to fight this guy tomorrow. And so, but to see that happen, I don't think it's Sean Shelby's fault at all. I mean, that guy is smaller than these guys, and these guys are lightweights. I mean, what's he gonna do? If Jeremy Stevens wants to fight Drew Hardclose at the weigh-ins, he's going to fight Drew Hardclose at the weigh-ins, and no one's going to stop him unless you're going to have to get a group of security guards in there. And so that's just something to consider. But it sucks to see it happen. Like, I mean, I think it's going to mess with weigh-ins a lot. I mean, it's going to mess with face-offs, really, not making as intense as they are. And I don't think they'll be as entertaining as they should be because of that small incident.
Yeah.
And it sucks to see it. I mean, I was really excited for this fight, but I mean, hopefully they can rebook it and figure something out. And it sucks to hear what happened with Ricard Close. Hopefully he was compensated for what had happened. It wasn't his fault that he was injured the day before the fight,
But because of that, we had 3 fights kind of get moved around or moved up, and we're just going to run through those really quickly. We had Luis Pena and Alexander Munoz. I feel like that was a pretty good fight.
I liked it.
Both guys were very active the whole fight. Luis Pena utilizing his jab, utilizing his reach, getting back down the whole fight, but he never backed down out of the fight. He just kept using that jab, kept catching him.
Yep.
I did want him to be a bit more aggressive. I feel like he needs to, he's violent Bob Ross.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be a little bit more violent in his fights. I feel like that was a smart fight, and I feel like he won it. I think it was really close. I think the judges made the right call. It was a split decision. I think one judge had it for Alexander Munoz.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me because he was pushing the fight and he was landing a lot of the really good shots throughout the fight. And I think Luis Pena looked really good, so it was hard. But
and that's what it came down to is, like, I agree, is just, Luis Pena was really pushing the pace in the first round, but Alex Munoz was able to come out and match that pace and then start to push him back.
Yeah.
And which he was a smaller fighter. Luis Pena is very, very long. And to see that happen, it was kind of like, man, because I like Luis Pena.
Me
In
too.
respect to Alexander Munoz, he did a great job also coming in and fighting a guy that a lot of people do know of and are aware of. And so he
when you're that outsized, that's kind of how you have to fight him. You just have to figure out that puzzle and push through the range. And that's what he was doing for the most of the fight. Like I said, it was a split decision for a reason.
Yeah.
I think most people would be split on who won that fight.
And that's how, I think watching that fight, it was kind of hard to say who. I feel like Alex Munoz won the third round, and Luis Pena won the first round. Excuse me, but the second round could have went either way.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tough because that's when Munoz was really starting to really find his momentum and starting to find success, and Luis Pena was kind of struggling with the pace that he was throwing at him a little bit. But it was an all around good fight. Hopefully, yes, we'll see Alexander Munoz around a little bit more. I'm really excited to see what's next for Luis Pena as well.
The other fight that got moved up was Tracy Cortez and Justine Kish.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty good fight as well. Both fighters were very active, but Tracy Cortez was just too much for Kish.
Yeah.
Whether it was striking or taking it to the ground. I think
Yep.
she kind of had the edge later in the rounds. Kish started having some success, but overall, that was Cortez's fight.
Yeah.
I know one judge had the score 30-27, which is kind of understandable. It was a split decision win, but I think I wouldn't have seen it any other way too. I think 30-27 is how I would have scored it. It was a really good fight. Kish had her moments, but Cortez was all over it though, from the start to the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's 10-9s across all three scorecards for that judge, so I would say that's agreeable. I think Justine Kish, she did a good job, but the thing is she just was always a step behind, and whenever she had a chance to change the momentum, she didn't really know what to do with it. She was kind of like trying to still find her footing, and that's what Cortez did a great job, and she was the better fighter that night as well. But I mean, I think Rose Namajunas, she was watching the fights, and she had said, Justine Kish is kind of a hard puzzle to solve. She's kind of tough. She's really tough. She does a lot of awkward things, unorthodox things. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really good back and forth fight. And sometimes, you like seeing those. I mean, I enjoy seeing a finish, but back and forth, you can't get much better than that at the same time,
Yeah. And then the last fight that kind of got messed with as far as place on the card, which the co-main event did too, but we'll get into that in a minute. But Jacob Malkoun and Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
Yeah.
I was all in it for Razak in that fight. I was so excited for it.
Yeah.
And then Malkoun went out there and dominated him.
Yeah.
Every single second of that fight.
Dude, he ragdolled him. He did. He was able, whenever he wanted the fight to go to the ground, he made it go to the ground. And Malkoun is a strong wrestler, and he, I know for sure he did not want to hang with Al Hassan on the
field.
And
they said on his walk to the cage, they're like, oh, he's, with his last couple of knockout fights, or his knockout wins, he's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with anyone. And he's absolutely afraid to go toe-to-toe with Al Hassan. That guy's nasty.
I would be very scared to go toe-to-toe with Al Hassan. There's a reason why.
Hard.
Yeah, there's a reason why all of his wins are all first-round knockouts. That dude will knock you the fuck out. He doesn't care, and he'll send you to the shadow realm so quick. And he's a terrifying person. And that's what I had to look into it. Like whenever I was watching the fight, they announced it's a middleweight fight. I was like, there's no way this guy is too big to be a middleweight.
Malkoun's pretty big too.
Yeah,
he's
is.
Pretty tall.
Yeah.
He's pretty long. It's pretty crazy that they're both middleweights.
Yeah, they're both very, very stocky guys. But I wish that we would have seen Malkoun really work for a submission finish. I think he could have got it eventually.
Probably, especially in that third round.
Yeah, I mean,
Al-Hassan was dead tired.
He was exhausted, and but I think Malkoun could have definitely got it. But I mean, he did not want to stand with him. He's lost by knockout before, and he doesn't want against a guy who is built pretty much the same as Al Hassan. And so I know he did not want to do that. But it was a good performance by Malkoun. Hopefully he can come back and get a finish the next fight. I would really like to see that kind of project his stock. Yeah.
That's 3 losses for Al Hassan now.
Really?
So he's got a loss against Chaos Williams. So it'd be Chaos Williams, now Malkoun, and then Munir Lazez. So I'm hoping he gets back in the win column. He's fun to watch. I don't think it gets a whole lot different than what he's been doing. I don't see him changing his game a whole lot. I think maybe he works on his wrestling to kind of prevent wrestling from happening. But I think he stays striking. I don't think he changes too much.
What happens if he walks in with a neck beard next time we see him?
Oh.
Yeah.
He'd still be Al Hassan, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
that'd be crazy. Like, he starts calling everybody brother and stuff.
Starts send me location.
Yeah, send me location. I'd be like, dude, this is a scary man.
All right. So the fight that got moved to co-main event was Andrei Arlovsky and Chase Sherman. And that I wanted to be a much better fight than it was.
Yeah.
Great fight for Arlovsky. Frustrating fight for Chase Sherman. Same thing with Alexander Munoz and Luis Pena, I think. It's frustrating to be the guy that you feel you're pushing the pace. You feel you're being the aggressor. And you're just getting jabbed in the face. And anytime you start to try to close in, you get punched in the face and everything just stops. And that's what Andrei Arlovsky did. Yeah. He just used his boxing to control Chase Sherman.
Yeah.
Chase Sherman might have been pushing the whole time. He might have been throwing heavy, but never really landed on him.
Yeah.
And the whole fight, you have Arlovsky just pushing you to pieces anytime you step in.
Stick and moving every single round. And I think Arlovsky definitely knows now is just he's not one of these young guys anymore that can just stand and bang with them too. I mean, he's gotten caught doing it multiple times since he's been back in the UFC on this second run he's had. And so I think it's best for him to stick and move. He moves very, very well. He did say that he wasn't happy with his performance after the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, which, you know, you want to see a guy like that. He's always been a fan favorite. And you want to see like a guy like that really put the work in. Chase Sherman's getting very frustrated at the end of the fight. And it's like, man, I mean, you keep chasing him down. You know, you got to do something different, mix it up a little bit.
Definitely took too long on that little call out there at the very end of the fight where he was telling him, like, come on, meet me in the middle and fight me.
I think it was, like the last 30 seconds of the fight?
If even that. I think it was like the last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, you chased him around the octagon for nearly 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Why are you getting mad now?
Yeah.
You should have been doing that earlier and should have been either pushing harder, initiating more, shooting for more takedowns, or using your jab a bit more. He was throwing heavy on the overhands, and it just wasn't. They weren't working for him.
Yep.
So I think Arlovski looked good, and that's pretty much the only story from that fight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and hopefully we'll see Arlovski back soon, and hopefully Chase Sherman's able to work on some things, not to just chase down and walk into punches.
Yeah, I think it's if Arlovski's gonna keep fighting, he's gonna try to. I don't know how many more runs for the title he's going to keep trying to make, but if he's making one, you know, this is the start to another run for the title.
Yeah.
Tough time in heavyweight to be making a run for a title.
Yes.
A lot of scary guys up top. And I don't see Arlovski beating Ngannou. I don't see him outboxing Stipe. And I think him and Derek Lewis would make a great fight. Yeah. But I see Derek Lewis putting that one away too.
Very quick.
So I think Arlovski, if he wants to make another title run, that's a tall order.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't want to make another title run, he just wants to take a few more money fights, finish out his contract, make a big statement.
Yeah.
Take on some young guys. If he fought Cyril Gane, I think that would be a good fight.
Yeah, that'd be a really good fight. That'd be fun.
I think that'd be a really good one. He could end his career as the journeyman gatekeeper that a lot of fighters wish they could be in heavyweight, because in heavyweight a lot of times they go out and it doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, with this win over Chase Sherman, he could do that.
For sure. And so for our main event, we had Robert Whittaker winning a decision over Kelvin Gastelum. Very, very entertaining fight. I loved it. It was fun to watch.
If you're a Robert Whittaker fan.
Yeah. And so I'm a fan of both. I like both, but it was really, really nice to see Robert Whittaker go in there and just implement his game plan.
It's hard to not pull for that guy. You always want him to win. He's just such a nice guy. He's dealt with so much over his career.
Yeah.
He's come into MMA very, very traditional martial arts, very respectful, very humble. Always been a very nice guy, very calm, but very vicious fighter.
Yep.
And now that he's really learning how to, with that champion mindset, he's taken things to a new level, and he's utilizing every little bit of his game to win fights now. And against a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, you're going to have to.
Yeah, and so, I mean, like we had talked about, too, is like this fight was supposed to happen 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to finally see it happen, because, you know, a lot of these fights happen where that fight was supposed to happen and it never happens. And so it was really, really cool to finally see that actually come to fruition.
Do you think it would have had the same result?
I think so.
Ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Too.
I think at the time, I mean, Robert Whittaker, I think it would have been more of a war. I think Kelvin probably would have had some better luck. I think that knockout against when Robert Whittaker lost to Andrew was Adesanya. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of changed his fight style a lot. He went back to more technical. He fought a little calmer. I mean, considering that the Robert Whittaker that would have been fighting Kelvin Gastelum at the time was used to wars.
Yeah.
I mean, he had
more aggressive.
Yeah, he just had 10 rounds with Yoel Romero. So, I mean, I don't think he would have got the finish against Kelvin, because at the time, right before around this time, was when Kelvin Gastelum had that, you know, great fight against Adesanya as well. So it's just kind of like, all right, let's see how this would. I think this is probably the best time for both of them to fight. Kelvin needed the win because he's trying to boost his stock back up. He's still ranked top 10. Robert's still ranked number 1 in the middleweight division, while Adesanya's taking some time off after his fight against John Blachowicz. So, but it was a good fight. It was almost a masterclass by Robert Whittaker. He just put it on him. He went out there and showed that his striking is superior. I mean, he just did an all-around great job, you know.
So do you think this gives Robert Whittaker a title shot, or do you think he needs to fight Marvin Vettori now?
This is the hard thing, though, is like you look at the top 3 guys in the middleweight division. It's Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori. And so you don't know because the top 2 guys have already fought Adesanya. Marvin Vettori has fought him, but not when he was a champion, though. Marvin Vettori has changed a lot since that fight as well.
I think of those three guys, I think Robert Whittaker has the best chance at beating Adesanya.
Yeah.
I think Vettori and Adesanya has a possible. It's possible for him to go in there and take over the fight and really push Adesanya, but I feel like Adesanya is going to be too long and too quick for that.
Yeah.
I think he beats Vettori again. Costa, we don't know where he lies. We need to see him fight again.
Yeah.
So I think Whittaker and Vettori would be a good fight.
Yeah.
Adesanya is going to want to take what he learned from light heavyweight and really reevaluate himself as a fighter, moving back to a lightweight or to middleweight. So I think what would be smart is for them to have Vettori and Whittaker fight for the next title shot while Adesanya readjusts to middleweight and gets ready to fight with some of those guys. Granted, he didn't make a huge difference in his life moving to light heavyweight. He fought at 194. Is that what he said? Is that what he weighed in at?
He weighed in at 200.
Oh, he weighed in at 200?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not a huge difference. So...
When the downside of that too is like, you know, I would like to see Robert Whittaker go ahead and just fight for the title, and that being because if you have Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori, and then Whittaker beats Vettori, now Vettori has a loss, and who does he fight? Let's say he fights Paulo Costa, beats Paulo Costa, and then now it's like, well, that guy's already lost to the last challenger who just lost to Adesanya if he were to lose again to him.
Well, he's a top 5 guy now.
Yeah.
So if once you become a top 5 guy, that's all you fight.
Yeah.
Is other top 5 guys, and that happens for a while. You look at any weight class, that's what happens. Right now with the you have Weili Zhang fighting Rose Namajunas. What happens if Rose Namajunas wins? Right. She's just going to fight someone else she's already fought.
Yeah.
Weili Zhang, to get back in the spot, is going to fight someone else she's already fought. Jacek's going to be in there somewhere fighting other top 5 people. So that's what happens. And I think if Vettori takes a loss, if he beats Paulo Costa, Whittaker beats Adesanya, that sets up for a perfect rematch for him and Whittaker for the title. So I don't think it pushes them too far away from a title shot, even though it's a loss and kind of pushes them back. I don't think it pushes them back too far.
Yeah.
If things set up the way they should be, because I think if say Adesanya beats Whittaker, and Vettori lost to Whittaker and has to come back if he beats Costa, or if he beats someone else who's moving up. If he does it in a way that gets people excited, the UFC will give him a title shot against Adesanya because people want to see him rematch against Adesanya.
Yeah, and I think I really like. It's kind of hard. I feel like that is kind of the fight to make for right now. But I don't want to see Marvin Vettori be inactive. He's had 2 good wins, and so it's just it kind of goes both ways. You don't want to start doing MMA math with like, what if this happens or what if that happens or stuff like that.
I mean, we can always try to make predictions, but you never know what's going to happen in fighting. There's just no way of telling. It's too crazy of a sport. I mean, look what happened with Jakar Close and Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed that that's what would have happened? It's freaking crazy. You know? So there's no way to know what's going to happen. But I'm just saying, I think Vettori and Whittaker is a good fight to make for both of their careers. I think Whittaker doesn't have as much left in his career as Vettori does. So I think if Vettori wanted to take a Whittaker fight to give him a title shot, I don't think he needs to do anything to prove he gets a title shot, but I think that makes him look a lot better if he does beat Whittaker.
Yeah.
It's like now he's beating Whittaker, and now he's beating Holland, and then he's beating. He gets to go fight Adesanya. So I think it looks good for him. I think it sets him up really good, makes him look really strong going into a Adesanya fight. The UFC would love it if Vettori won and say he knocks out Whittaker. Yeah. Oh, that'd be freaking nuts. They would love it because think of the promos they'll have. They'll have the promo video of him and Adesanya's original fight.
Yeah.
They'll have all the trash talk that have been going between them two, and then they'll get to show all the different footage of Vettori on this long winning streak of him beating all these people and Adesanya, everything he's done. So I think that it just makes for a good promotion. I think it makes for a good fight if he beats Whittaker first.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, still exciting, still a good fight. But I think it just adds more.
Did you see what Adesanya tweeted to Robert Whittaker after the fight?
To Whittaker, no.
He said something, I think it was along the lines. He said, "Good fight, my son."
Oh, yeah, no, okay. They showed that live.
Yeah. I was like, you asshole. Just let him have his fucking win, dude. Like, he didn't give you...
Adesanya is considered one of the greatest trash talkers in MMA right now.
Yeah.
So you can't let him have it.
Yeah, I mean,
It don't happen.
I don't think he's that good of a trash talker, but hey, I mean, people like him. So,
Well, speaking of trash talk, some moving to a different promotion, different organization, which some people only like to talk about one. We're going to talk about another right now. We're going to talk about Bellator. A lot of exciting fights happened last week with Bellator, and I think a lot of them were even the early fights, even the prelim fights that really didn't garner a whole lot of attention. I think were still like you got to look at these guys and know that they're the next.
mm, they're coming up.
They're the future champions in the sport. One of them being Lance Gibson Jr.
Who he's just solid. I mean, he just looked great last week. His both his mom and his dad are a fighter. He grew up in an MMA household. Stepmom. His stepmom is a fighter.
His stepmom fought on the same card last week.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane, dude. And but yeah, they both did a great job, and it was both entertaining. I mean, but Lance Gibson Jr. is like I had heard about him, and to finally see him fight, it was just like, oh, my schedule lined up to watch this because it's kind of hard watching Bellator now since they are on Showtime.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see Lance Gibson Jr. go in there. He was putting together great combinations. He was finding his range and everything. I think there was a illegal strike in the fight that did kind of slow him down a little bit.
There was the eye poke.
Yeah.
And I was really wondering if because he sat out for a little bit in the corner, the doctors had to come look at him for a little bit. And I was really curious how that would slow him down, but it didn't.
Yeah.
He still looked just as sharp coming back from it.
It was a pretty rough eye poke as well, too. I mean, his eye was swelled up pretty good after that, but he was still able to fight through it. He was putting together great combinations. I really liked he had a double, like the 1-2 to a body kick combination that was really, really pretty.
Yeah.
And so it was super nice watching him go in there and do that. He's definitely somebody that's came up. He's one of those new breed of MMA fighters that's just grew up doing all types of martial arts and is putting them together very, very well. So I'm excited to see him fight again for sure.
You can kind of take him and compare him. It's kind of a crazy contrast with, like you were just saying, he's a new breed who came up learning all these different styles. Compare him to another guy on the card who looked real good, Raymond Daniels.
Yeah.
Big fan of him. Everyone's going to be a huge fan of this guy once they see him.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for a long time, but that's because he was in kickboxing and taekwondo and karate.
Yeah.
So he's just now over those last few years getting into the MMA scene where I think people need to see this guy. He's so exciting. The Raymond the real deal Daniels, and he really is the real deal.
Yeah.
When they announced him, they called him the human highlight reel, and he really is.
Yeah.
He is so exciting from start to finish. He's throwing all the flashy kicks, all the crazy spinning stuff people like to see.
That's what whenever it was my first time watching a Raymond Daniels fight last week, and you had told me like, dude, no, you need to sit down and watch this guy. Like, and I didn't know, I've already seen one of his knockouts before. Whenever you had pulled it up on your phone to show
720
me,
spinning punch.
Yes, dude, it's insane. And I'm sure that's what I was telling my brother about it. I was like, dude, I watched this guy fight last night. And he's like, well, Raymond Daniels, I don't know the name. So I pulled up the same exact knockout you showed me. He's like, oh, yeah, I know who that guy is.
Everybody's seen that knockout. They just don't know who he is. And that's what I'm saying. It sucks. Everything this guy does is the exciting stuff everyone wants to see. And he's so good at it that people just can't get near him.
Yeah.
And the way he looked in that fight, the first round, he was close to knocking that guy out at least three times.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
twice. Yeah. Close to three.
With the knee and then the head kick, he almost knocked him out. And then in between the first and second round, the ref went up to the other fighter and said, "Hey, you gotta start being active. If you keep taking these hits, I'm gonna stop this fight."
Yeah.
And so Raymond Daniels' corner goes over to his corner and says, "Hey, our fighter's not gonna damage your fighter too much."
Yeah.
How sad is that?
Yeah.
How outmatched do you have to be for the other corner to come tell you, "Hey, our fighter's not gonna let you take too much damage. Don't worry about it," and you just kind of appreciate it.
Yeah, especially it was that between the second and third round that Raymond Daniels coaches had told him, "Hey, take him down,
take him down." And he had 4 takedowns, and the commentators were going wild because he was taking people down.
Yeah,
just something you'd never think he would do, but he was trying to be respectful. He was trying to be kind of helpful to the other guy who's taking so much damage.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. Sometimes it's always sucks to see someone who's too tough for their own good. The fire that he was beaten up on was just taking way too much damage, and it was good to see Raymond Daniels have the sportsmanship to take him down and say, "Hey, I'm just gonna beat you up right here," try to get him a submission win, and which was also super impressive because this guy is a former karate fighter, ex pro kickboxer, and he's transitioned to MMA very, very well.
Very well.
Yeah.
And speaking of MMA fighters, just in general, who've been doing it a long time. Paul Daly.
Yep.
How about that?
Yeah, 60-second win.
Freaking crazy.
Yeah.
How do you do it that long and have that many wins? You think about guys like Jeremy Horn. His record is insane. He's got nearly 100 wins.
Yeah.
Not just fights, but wins. And Paul Daly's over here knocking people out left and right, and he's been doing that since the beginning of his career.
And that's what's insane is it's all that left hook, and people still
the left hook.
Yeah.
He's got flying knee knockouts. I think one of his biggest fights is always going to be Josh Koscheck, though.
Yeah, people, because the thing is, Paul Daly would have been phenomenal in the UFC. He would have had a great career in the UFC. I don't know if he would have been champion, but he would have definitely been an exciting UFC fighter to watch. But because of that stuff with Josh Koscheck, I think, Josh Koscheck, not to say he deserved it, but he's talking a bunch of shit before during the fight, and he knew that Paul Daly would have knocked him out, and so he did wrestle him, and he showed that. But Daly at the time had a huge weakness, which is insane watching him now because Paul Daly's taking people down. He's going for submissions now. Like
he's a very well-rounded fighter now.
He's showing that, even though he's been 62 fights, he's still willing to learn, and he's still willing to go out there and show, hey, like, no, I'm a mixed martial artist. I'm not just a boxer. So,
and then you got Corey Anderson.
Yep.
Corey Anderson going out there, starting his Bellator career.
Yep.
And he's on a title bracket or a tournament for the light heavyweight title, and he's getting wins over there now.
Yep. And he's looking good. I mean, you see, I want to say it's his second win in a row. He just won this one by TKO in the third round. And so it's very good to see him back in the win column. Some people like him, some people don't. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's doing what he loves, and he's making good money doing it. He had recently said that in the past couple fights he's had in Bellator is the most money he's made, more than his UFC career.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find that right now. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. But, yeah, he had 7 years and like 15 fights with the UFC, and he made more money in Bellator in just 2 fights.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to kind of figure out how these guys pay their fighters. And Corey Anderson isn't just some no-name fighter. In the UFC. In the UFC, he was a big deal. Everybody who wanted to move into the top 5, you had to deal with Corey Anderson. And
he's definitely a dark horse of the division. A lot of people, I mean, you could tell that he wasn't always a fan favorite style, but he was getting used into the striking. I mean, sometimes it would work out for him, sometimes it didn't. He did get knocked out pretty bad by John Blachowicz in his last UFC fight.
So did a lot of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly. I mean, look who's champion now, John Blachowicz. And John Blachowicz he knocked out Dominic Reyes, right after that. So I mean, that Polish power is nothing to fuck around with, dude. Like, it's scary. And so, but yeah, and then so there was another fight from that. The main event of that night was another one for that light heavyweight tournament. It was
Vadim Nemkov and Phil Davis, and Vadim Nemkov beat Phil Davis by decision. It was a really good fight.
It was a rematch too.
It was. It was very. I don't want to say fast. It wasn't fast paced, but it was a pace that's kind of hard to keep up with. Both guys were keeping up with it from start to finish. Mm-hmm. I think Nemkov just looked a little bit cleaner with his punches. Yeah, and that's what got him the win.
Yeah, I mean, he's able to come in there and he's able to do it. And I think you were happy you were able to watch that fight, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I see. But yeah,
it was a good one. I think there were a lot of people who thought Phil Davis won, and I understand that. I think, though, that Phil Davis was trying to rely on his wrestling to get him the decision win, and it didn't work out because Nemkov was just doing too much whenever they were standing. Right.
So, but yeah, there's one more fight card to talk about, and yeah, I don't think either one of us are anticipating this one. And so I think actually right before we started, I was like, do you want to talk about this one first? But I mean, there's a lot to discuss, so we were like, no, we gotta actually have to wait on this. It's best if we wait, So, yeah.
Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Ben Funky Askren, a.k.a. MMA's disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so Jake Paul, and I'm sure you've seen, anybody who's listening has seen it. He had knocked out Ben Askren in the first round with a really good right hand. Just hit him with a jab, and Ben Askren dropped his guard and caught him with a clean straight right. Knocked him out, won the fight. and I think everybody's pretty disappointed. They want to
Yeah.
see that dude Jake Paul get knocked out,
And
but
a lot of people were mad, but look, Ben Askren got up and was falling over. For the people saying it was rigged, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
But Ben Askren walked away with a ton of money.
I'd be smiling too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether it was real or not, it happened, and I think it's kind of like watching a movie. Like when I watched King Kong and Godzilla not too long ago. I loved it. Fun movie if you want to watch a giant lizard fight a giant gorilla.
Yeah.
Not a good movie if you're trying to watch a cool story.
Yeah.
So don't go into it trying to question the mathematics and the physics behind what go on in this world. Don't try to question this stuff. It's entertainment. These guys, Jake Paul is not a real boxer yet.
No.
He's a guy who trains boxing.
Yeah.
And he's in shape. He's young. He's fast.
He's very athletic, just like
he's
his
very
brother.
athletic, but he's not a real boxer. So don't get so mad. Don't start calling it, it's rigged. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, he fought against the guy with the worst boxing in the UFC.
The worst boxing in the UFC, a retired NBA player, and other YouTubers. Yeah. Who cares if it's rigged? It's supposed to be entertainment. I'm tired of it. I'm annoyed by it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, the bad guy wins again. I mean, people get so frustrated with it, but
and he calls himself the problem child, and I hate that so much. I don't know why I hate it, but I hate it. And then the stupid robot he had was ridiculous, and he started talking about his one of his trainers who had passed away.
Right.
And the robot starts dancing on the stage, and I was like, "What is this?
Bad time, wrong time." But that's just, he's something else, man. People, and the thing is, people get so upset about it. I think us going in, and we had talked about it, is like, especially like with our opinions when it comes to, we prefer MMA over boxing. That's just how we feel. Yeah. But we're gonna be biased. I even bet $50 on Jake Paul because I knew he was gonna go in there and he was gonna beat Ben Askren, and so it's just, and he went in there and he did that. But anybody that thinks that it was an early stoppage, go back and you can find other angles and you can see Ben Askren was out of it. He was never gonna come back. If anything, that ref helped Ben from getting less embarrassed. Yeah, you know.
And the worst comment I saw was someone saying, "Oh, if I was Jake Paul, I'd have been pissed because you're on your way to winning that fight, and then you drop him and you're looking real good. There's no way he would have recovered, and then the ref stops it."
Yeah.
Hello, that's how you win in boxing. What do you mean he was on his way to a win? That's a win. That's a TKO victory.
That's how boxing works.
I didn't understand that. But that just goes to show the people who are watching this Logan Paul fights,
they don't understand.
They don't know what they're looking at. They're looking at a guy who's been a YouTuber for however many years who's boxing now. They're not looking at a boxer versus a fighter.
And boxing TKOs are very different than MMA TKOs.
Yeah, you can get up and walk around and be fine.
Yeah.
But if you can't walk a straight line, or if you can't, and one of the rules with the, so you have 10 seconds to get up, but after you've been knocked down a certain amount of times, they give you 8 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
So if you don't, and he got up in 8 seconds. So even if it was even if he had been knocked down a few times already, he got up at the 8-second mark. So a couple more knockdowns was just going to make it that much worse. Like you said, he saved him a lot of embarrassment.
Yeah, and that's what I did listen to Ben Askren talk about his loss against it, and he said it was equally as embarrassing as the George Masvidal loss.
I think it's much worse.
And so he was just like, hey, man, at the end of the day, I get to go to my wrestling academy, and I made a lot of money doing it. I mean, I'm not a boxer. I don't know why people were just saying that I was representing MMA going in. He's like, guys, I got knocked out in 5 seconds. I have a hip replacement. And he talked about it. He's like, I was walking around like 215. I haven't done anything. He's very overweight. Yeah. I mean,
you remember his comment at the face-off before the fight?
Yes, that was my favorite.
That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, he gets in Jake Paul's face, and Jake Paul's all intense, and Ben Askren just gets up in his face and looks at him and says, I gotta take a shit. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just couldn't stop laughing. It's just, this guy's not taking it serious. And Jake Paul was getting frustrated. He wasn't taking it serious. But it's like, look who you're asking to fight you, though.
Yeah. And you're never going to get a serious response from someone if you're not fighting a serious fighter.
Yeah.
And as far as that goes, look at the people who are now looking to try to fight him.
Yeah.
I think he's got attention like he wanted.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz is talking smack with him back and forth. He says he knocks Nate Diaz out in the third round.
Yeah.
And I don't think he... No, you don't. You don't knock Nate Diaz out in the third round. Sorry, Jake Paul. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does because I thought, Ben Askren could have taken a punch from him, but he couldn't. So, but he's got attention from Nate Diaz. He's got attention from Daniel Cormier, who says, no, I'm not going to punch down to a guy like you. You're not a real fighter. But I think you fight Tyron Woodley. I think that makes a great fight. And Tyron Woodley and all of Jake Paul's team have a back and forth going now.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah, they that was definitely annoying seeing that. They were very disrespectful against Tyron Woodley, who's done a lot. He's definitely made plenty of accomplishments. He's won 5 world titles. It's not easy feat. Granted, he is an MMA fighter, but whenever you have somebody like Jay Leon Love, who is a pro boxer, but there's no need for him to be disrespectful like that. He's just going in there doing his job, make sure they're putting the hand reps on.
And let's be real, if they were to ever have a street fight,
yeah,
we know who's winning that fight.
Yeah,
that's gonna be Tyron Woodley all day.
Tyron Woodley's gonna do a homicide, like Ben Askren was saying. He's gonna do a homicide, and just because Tyron Woodley's had 4 losses straight, people think he's still not a threat. He's still a scary guy. I mean, Vicente Luque had to really work for that win against him. And granted, Tyron Woodley was looking really good that fight.
He was, and then when Luke got it, oh man,
when he got that Darce choke in,
poured it on him real tough.
Yeah, and when he got the Darce choke in, Tyron Woodley's in a very uncomfortable position. He knows how to defend the Darce, but he's stuck between Luque and the cage. You know, and which I really like Vicente Luque, taking nothing away from him at all. But it was definitely Tyron Woodley shouldn't be talked to like that. I mean, he's an actual fighter. Ben Askren is a retired fighter who has no boxing experience, but it's kind of funny that you see Jake Paul go in there and knock out Ben Askren, and now all these fighters who still fight want to fight him now. It's
and I hope they do. I hope one of them does. I don't care which one, but I'm sure any of them will take him.
Yeah, and
Mike Perry wants to fight him, and I think Mike Perry, we talked about him for a while last time. I think Mike Perry knocks Jake Paul's head clean off.
Yeah, that's what I think. Jake Paul had said something against Mike Perry for no reason. These guys train together, which if you haven't seen Mike Perry's reaction, go to his Instagram and look it up. It's kind of funny because he's angrily eating an ice cream cone while he's talking about this. And he's just like, I'm in a bad mood now. But it's super funny. Go look it up. But I think he had complimented Jake Paul in a sparring session and said, "Hey man, you really kicked my ass," which is just saying like, "Hey man, like we got some good work in,
Dab me up.
You dabbed me up. We got some good work in. We broke a good sweat." And Jake Paul looks exhausted, and so Mike Perry says, "Hey man, what the fuck? I was just trying to be nice to you. There's no need for that." And then Mike Perry ends up releasing a little clip of sparring footage that ends up showing that Jake Paul was actually like not wanting to engage with him at all.
He's getting walked down into the ropes every single time he took a step
from one corner to another. And so, granted, that was only like a 10-second clip.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's what a majority of it was, because Mike Perry will walk anybody down. He doesn't give a shit.
I mean, in his last loss, he walked him down. Yeah. He just didn't win.
Yeah, he's just like we talked about. It's just Daniel Rodriguez is just looking phenomenal. But yeah.
So another name that I think there are 2 names that got put out there. BJ Penn's name is out there. I don't think that should happen.
No.
But there are 2 names that I think would be very exciting if they fought Jake Paul. Boxed Jake Paul, to be specific. I think one name that Daniel Cormier said was Luke Rockhold. I think that would be very interesting. And Daniel Cormier and Luke Rockhold, they go back, so maybe he can make that happen. I hope he does, because I think Luke Rockhold is in a spot where that's something he might actually be interested in. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know the guy. Yeah. But I know he's no stranger to being on TV. Yeah. And I know that his striking is very good. So I think if Jake, and he's a middleweight, or he can be a middleweight. If Jake Paul wants to fight someone and make it a challenge, and he wants to be taken seriously, you need to fight someone in your weight class. You don't need to be calling these small guys. You don't need to be calling these grapplers out. Yeah. Call a real fighter and call out someone who's in your weight class. Yeah. The other guy is Chris Lieben. And if you don't know who Chris Lieben is, just go look up Chris the Crippler Lieben highlights on YouTube or something, and you'll find it. That guy will kill
that man is
Jake Paul.
Savage.
It would be a murder. It would be insane. Chris Lieben is bare knuckle boxing right now, and he's very good at it. He's retired. He went 2-0. Is that what happened, right? Yep. You can't knock Chris Lieben out. It just doesn't happen. The only 2 people who have done it are Brian Stann and Anderson Silva. Yeah. And it was both with Muay Thai knees. And those two guys hit real hard.
Yeah.
And you hit them with a knee, that's like getting hit with a baseball bat. Chris Lieben doesn't go out. So I think if Jake Paul wants to be real and call out some real people, go ahead and call out Luke Rockhold, call out Chris Lieben, but I don't think he calls them out. I think he knows better.
Yeah, I mean, granted, look at, Luke Rockhold. He's a grappler. He is a grappling base, which, I mean, he's not a boxing base. Why don't you fight that guy? And then, because I think Luke Rockhold's really big for 185.
Yeah, he is. He's really long.
Yeah.
But that's where he started learning how to use his striking.
Yeah.
Who was it he got with? It wasn't Phil Nurse. He got with someone to work on his kickboxing. He was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But he learned how to do that question mark kick he likes to do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And man, is he good at it. But he's really good at setting it up with a good jab and a right cross, just like Robert Whittaker's combination. So I think if, like I said, if there are two people he wants to call out, those are the two people that would make it would be interesting.
Yeah.
You would get a lot, and let's just say he wins, knock on wood. Say he beats Luke Rockhold or Chris Lieben.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're getting MMA fans on your side. You have to.
Yeah.
You at least get their respect, because those are two legitimate fighters, legitimate scary fighters. And if you beat them, I would cede to say, hey,
you know what?
You're pretty legit now if you're beating those guys.
And so I think that's what it is too. Is just like the thing about like MMA fans giving him the respect, or the community in a sense, is just Jake Paul wants to disrespect everybody as much as possible. So if he's gonna talk shit to MMA fans, he's definitely gonna do it. And it's like, man, whatever, dude. But I would really like to see him fight a legitimate fighter now, a legitimate boxer, somebody in his weight class if he wants, or even if the guy's maybe a couple wins in, same exact record as him, 3-0. Put him against a pro boxer, put him against actual competition. Stop making this a circus show, because that whole Triller pay-per-view, whoever spent money on that, it was a fucking circus show,
right?
No,
Snoop Dogg.
Really?
Yeah, and he was one of the commentators, and him and Oscar De La Hoya were doing drugs the whole time. And Pete Davidson was there as a commentator,
and he was talking shit to Ben Askren and Jake Paul the entire time.
Yeah, it is a circus show. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely one thing. I don't think Triller's ever gonna be able to host a pay-per-view again. And if they do, I don't see him buying it
because of Oscar De La Hoya.
Not just that. I just think it was just really fucking ridiculous.
Well, it was, but they're gonna be able to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They look at how much money they brought in. I guarantee you they get to do it again. And speaking of Oscar De La Hoya and all the craziness that he was talking a lot of it during Frank Mir's fight.
Yeah,
Frank Mir, I think he looked really good for his first pro boxing fight. Yeah. I think he looked pretty good.
He wasn't in boxing shape, but hey, dude,
he was fighting a real boxer, and he went out there and held his ground.
Yeah.
Granted, his face got beat up, and afterwards he was like, "Oh, I didn't know what to do," but. I mean, he looked good.
Yeah.
He didn't look good. He was pretty overweight, but his boxing didn't look too bad.
He did it. I mean, you can't give him shit. He went in there and he boxed a legitimate boxer.
It's just like with CM Punk. CM Punk went in there and fought MMA.
Yeah.
He looked god awful doing it, but he did it. You know, hats off to him. I wish he could have fought someone else in that second fight. I'm not even gonna go into that, but I don't know what it is about all this. This craziness going on right now with Triller. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
I don't even like calling it Triller. I think that's a stupid word, and I don't want to say it.
Yeah, I like I said, it's just, I really don't see it being around much longer if they're able to do it. I guess Jake Paul's going to be their only revenue coming in. People want to see him get beat.
Well, they have Jake Paul. They have his brother. They have, I don't know, whatever happened to the other dude, the other YouTuber.
Which one?
KSI? KSI, yeah.
I have no clue.
He looked good. He ran his mouth way too much.
He was taking it serious though. But then again, I mean, look who he was talking with KSI. Look who he was having to talk shit to. He was having to talk shit to Shannon Briggs, who doesn't shut up. Like that guy's.
Shannon Briggs will talk mess to anybody. Yeah. If you are relatively large and involved in combat sports or weightlifting, he's going to want to fight you.
Yeah, it's just that's how he is.
I find it very entertaining, but it is what it is.
It's super annoying, honestly. I think it's fucking frustrating. It's just like, bro, shut up. Like, get out of here.
I think Prime Shannon Briggs and Kimbo Slice would have made a good fight.
That would have made a great fight. That would have been so much fun.
That would have been very fun.
Those dudes
I think Kimbo Slice would have made it very fun.
Yeah.
Shannon Briggs would have tried to talk so much mess, and I don't think Kimbo Slice would have reacted to it at all.
No, he would have been like,
it would have been hilarious. He would have just kind of laughed it off and made jokes, and everybody would have laughed.
Yeah.
And that would have pissed Shannon Briggs off.
Who's that? Who did, what's that? Shannon Briggs fought Klitschko?
Oh yeah.
And dude, like Shannon Briggs did everything he possibly could to get into that fucking guy's head, but it was not gonna work.
Klitschko is basically Ivan Drago.
Yeah,
Nothing you say is going to get into this guy.
yeah,
It's almost like they programmed him to be a boxer, and that's exactly what he went out there and did.
Yeah.
Does. Uh, Shannon Briggs is something else. Like I said, I find it entertaining because he at least he goes out there and he fights. He doesn't just run his mouth. He goes out there and he
yeah.
fights.
He knows it too. Hey man, if I'm gonna win or if I'm gonna lose, he doesn't. He just
Yeah.
doesn't care. He's just like, fuck
He
it. Like,
really doesn't. He
Yeah.
tries to go fight people in their gyms.
it's so disrespectful, but it's kind of funny.
Very entertaining.
But yeah, man, I think with the Jake Paul thing, it was a good stoppage. The thing is in boxing, fighters do take a lot more damage to the head because it is strictly punches. So, like I think we
You
talked
think Jake
about.
Paul's CTE calls are real?
No, that's not real. Fucking idiot, dude. He probably had concussion. That's what it was. I guarantee that's what it is.
Yeah.
And you can't just sit there and diagnose yourself with something and you don't know. But that's something serious. If he feels like he has that way, then has that.
Go
Then
get it taken care of, man.
you shouldn't be fighting then. What are you doing? You're not. I think it's what it was. Is it was a cry to put yourself out there that you're tough. It's like no one's not saying you're not tough.
No,
It's
I think everyone's saying he's not tough.
Yeah, actually, let me reword that. A lot of people are saying you're not tough, but it's just you're trying to legitimize yourself by saying I have early signs of CT. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. You don't think these other fighters don't, and they're not crying about it. They're not saying it, and look at Spencer Fisher. That dude.
Oh man.
Yeah. That dude is just saying, hey, no, this is what's going on, and that's it.
And he's got a little documentary they're working on right now,
Which is good. Hopefully,
I have him on Facebook. If anyone's interested in learning about what CT is, check out Spencer Fisher and what's going on in his life right now. He's a former retired UFC fighter. Super exciting. Anytime that guy went in there and fought, it was always fun to watch. He's got so many fights that were fight of the night. He was just super exciting. And now he's dealing with CTE. He's dealing with a lot of mental problems because of the effects of CTE. And it's pretty sad. I think him and Matt Hughes is dealing with other issues. He was in an accident where his truck either stalled out or got stuck on some train tracks and it was actually hit by a train, and he's not the same since, but he's looking all right. He's getting taken care of, and Spencer Fisher's getting to where he and his family and his team are kind of taking care of him, and I like to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's good to see that he's getting that taken care of, but it's really sad, growing up watching Spencer Fisher, and he's just game. He just wanted to go out there and just fight. But I don't think Jake Paul really has CT. Going back to that, I just think he just got hit a little hard in the gym a couple times. Probably got his noggin rocked. It happens. You're gonna have a concussion sometimes. You're in a sport where people punch you in the face.
Well, he did get knocked out. There's video of this. He got knocked out by Paulo Costa.
I did see that. Are you sure it was him or was it Logan?
Yes. You know what? I don't know. I get them mixed up all the time.
Everybody does.
You might be right.
And so it's just, which even that, I saw that video and it just, I don't know. It just seemed kind of like charaded.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to take anything they do or say literally or seriously because that's what they've made their life on, is exaggerating their lives and doing crazy things, making wild claims, because that's what YouTube is. That's what YouTubers are.
Yeah.
So I think he's got one choice, and that's to fight a real fighter.
Yeah.
A real fighter who's an active fighter.
It would be nice to see it, honestly. I think it's a perfect time to do it.
And I say active fighter, and I do include Rockhold and Levin in that, just because they are fresh out of it. So Ben Askren, different story.
And so, which is, I mean, hopefully somebody comes in and beats up Jake Paul. I mean, this past month, April 2021, TikTok personality said that Jake Paul sexually assaulted her. So,
so his career might be over soon.
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, his brother, his dad's
they have
caught with
money,
some
so
shit.
why would it?
Yeah, but let's just hope he gets what's coming to him then, if that's the case. And
it'll happen if he keeps going down the path he's going, which is being aggressive and calling all these people out. It's gonna happen. Dana White's not really interested in any of it, I don't think. Snoop Dogg, apparently when Jake Paul knocked out Ben Askren, Snoop Dogg said, "Where's my money, Dana White?" Because supposedly they had bet $2 million. Or no, Dana White said on a show with along with Mike Tyson He said that he would bet $1 million that Ben Askren would win, and I can't remember who he said came back to him with it, but they were like, "Oh, Snoop Dogg and Triller, they'll take you up on that bet," and they said they want to do $2 million. And Dana White denies that this ever happened, and he was like, "Nah, well, not he doesn't deny that it ever happened, but he says no, that's illegal, and I would never make any illegal bets. That's ridiculous. I would never do that. Whether he did or didn't, who knows?
Yeah.
But the whole we keep saying it. The whole thing is just a joke.
Yeah.
So until they bring in real fighters, what does it matter? Your Triller organization, I think, should have stuck to what it was, which was YouTubers fighting YouTubers.
Entertainers fighting entertainers.
Yeah, and I think that's exciting. I think that is what it is. But once you get these guys and they start taking themselves a little too seriously, acting like they're really pro fighters, that's when you start having problems.
Which, I mean, he is legitimizing, Jake Paul is legitimizing himself. He's fighting guys. I mean, he's training hard, but...
He's making the right steps. He's fighting a former fighter, but you're just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
He's taking like the baby steps while his mouth is writing checks at his but can't cash.
Yeah.
He's making all these crazy call outs, and then fighting guys who have never ever been in a striking match in their life.
Yeah, like Dylan Dennis wants to fight him. Dylan Dennis is gonna get beat up if he fights.
And
him.
that was the fight before it was against Ben Askren. The Ben Askren kind of came out of nowhere. His first fight was supposed to be against Dylan Dennis. Dylan Dennis was on Brendan Schaub's show, and they had just had Jake Paul on their show, and then whenever they had Dylan Dennis showed up, and Dylan Dennis, they came by and threw toilet paper at him, and he got mad. It was kind of stupid, but so is Dylan Dennis. So is Jake Paul.
Yep. But I'm just happy it's over, though. And so hopefully we'll see him and Floyd. What's that? His brother, Logan Paul, finally fight Floyd Mayweather. I really don't care to see it. And that's another one that's coming.
I hope Mayweather knocks him out. I hope he doesn't play any games with him. I hope he knocks him out.
That's why they had to rebook it, because so many people aren't interested in that
Yeah.
fight. And so that says something. It's like, should you really make that fight then?
No.
Sounds like you're wasting a lot of time.
Because they're trying so hard to act like these guys are real fighters or real boxers. They're not. They're not. And you shouldn't act like they are, because it makes you look stupid.
Yeah.
And that's why Dana White wants nothing to do with it. He's like, no, we're real and you guys are jokes, and you need to stay away from us.
That's what we talked about.
Stop trying to associate with me.
He, what's that? Jake Paul wants to fight McGregor. McGregor just calls him the YouTube kid.
The YouTube kid.
Yeah.
And I really liked when Ben Askren was calling him Logan's little brother, but he didn't stick to that. Maybe that's why he lost.
Should have stayed in.
He doesn't have that Mystic Mac mindset.
Number two. But
Number two.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know, man. It's just glad it's over. But
yeah,
it's
not over though, because he won.
No,
so
glad that's over with for now. I'm glad it's put to rest for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I did want to talk with you a little bit about was tomorrow. ONE FC is having another fight card.
Yeah. Colby Northcutt's on it. Colby Northcutt, the fighter that we were talking about earlier, Raymond Daniels, that's his wife. Colby Northcutt's brother is Sage Northcutt. They're from Katy, Texas. They're fantastic fighters.
Yep.
Sage
nice
Northcutt's got to fight. He's trying to fight, but actually he was supposed to be set up to fight Shinya Aoki, which he is fighting on that card.
He is? Oh, yeah.
Him and Colby Northcutt are fighting. They're not fighting together or against each other, but he's fighting on that card. Colby Northcutt's fighting on that card.
Tomorrow?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's it called? The one fight I was really focused on was really just John Wayne Parr versus Nikki Holtzkin. And that's just a good throwdown
maybe
right there.
it was on a different card, but I know they just announced that it was happening.
So I know he did have a fight coming up. And so, but yeah, John Wayne Parr, he's a Muay Thai legend. He's very entertaining to watch.
I know, it's April 28th.
April 28th. So next week. Next week.
Eddie Alvarez is also on that card.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
and Kirill Grashenko, who's awesome. He's on that card as well. So that's a really good fight card. Yeah. But yeah, the fight's tomorrow with Parr. That's gonna be in Holtzkin. That's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, because those guys, they're fun to watch.
And you said it was on the prelims, right?
Yeah, it's on the prelims.
Nuts.
Which I think is ridiculous, because John Wayne Parr's a legend, dude. That guy's been around for so long. When you told me that, I was like, who do they have on the main card that they think is gonna be more exciting than that?
Yeah. And I understand rankings come into play a little bit. Yeah. But come on, these guys what they're gonna do.
Yeah, those guys are gonna stand and throw. If you want to watch a good Muay Thai fight, that's the fight to watch. Mm-hmm. Those guys are very, very entertaining. But they have John Lineker headlining the card, which. I mean,
good for him.
Yeah, good for him. But I don't.
He's
really
worked
care
hard his whole career, but
I mean, Yeah.
So if he wins, you think he and Demetrius Johnson end up fighting?
I mean, eventually, I think they would have to line up and do it. I'm
Yeah.
surprised those two never fought, honestly.
Yeah.
But John Lineker could never really tie together wins though to
No.
end up in that
And
position. He
I
couldn't
don't.
make weight. That was the other big issue. He could never
Oh
make
yeah.
125. I forgot how many times he missed 125. Which I mean, it's one championship, so I mean the weight cuts are completely different. That's why he can make the weight class now. So
I think their rule set also kind of benefits a fighter like him. He likes to be a bit more aggressive.
yeah,
He likes to kind of be active throughout the fight. Once he gets you in a position, he doesn't really want to let up. And I think their rule set kind of allows him to do that.
yeah,
Like we were talking about last time, they have the you're allowed to knee or kick an opponent in the head when they're
yeah,
considered downed in other organizations. They're not considered down in ONE FC.
yeah.
So I think that's something that's really exciting for him. But yeah, it's just crazy to see John Wayne Parr and Holtzkin on a prelim fight.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
If you want to watch a good Nicky Holtzkin fight, look up him versus Cosmo Alexandre.
Yeah,
so that's a very
Cosmo Alexandre is always fun to watch. He's we were just talking about Sage Northcutt. He's the guy that nearly ended Sage Northcutt's career, I think.
With a very with one punch. I mean, it was he's insanely strong. He's
fractured his skull in his
eight
orbital bone,
places.
his cheekbone. Yeah, several places. It was crazy. So that's a really fun fight to watch. ONE FC's got a lot going for it right now.
Yeah. I think it's that they picked a good time to start showing it on TV as well too.
Yeah.
You know, no one else is broadcasting on Wednesdays. It's going to be on TNT, so I'll definitely be tuning in.
Bellator broadcasts on Wednesdays. I don't know if they're going to be doing it anymore now that they're moving to Showtime, but they do broadcast on Wednesdays. So yeah, if they're not anymore, and ONE FC is going to start capitalizing on that, I think that's really smart.
I think it's very, very smart, and it's nice because you can even go on YouTube and watch them. They play them all live.
Yeah, they'll always be live. That's why I'm never really worried about missing the cards because I'm like, yeah, I'll catch it on YouTube. I'll be all right.
Exactly. So I mean, it's what I'm very looking forward to that fight. And the one fight that I'm surprised we hadn't talked about just in our own free time yet was Sean O'Malley versus Dominic Cruz.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I sent you the video of Sean O'Malley's call out on Dominic Cruz. I loved it. I thought it was so funny, just him being goofy and doing that. But
yeah, I think that fight lines up better than I would have originally thought. It's crazy to me that Sean O'Malley is not ranked higher, and it's crazy to me that Dominic Cruz is still ranked as high as he is. I understand he just got to win over Casey Kenny, but he isn't an active fighter anymore. He doesn't fight often enough, and when he does, he more than often loses. I am one of the biggest Dominic Cruz fans, so him and Sean O'Malley fighting, I think, is a very exciting fight. I think that with how Dominic Cruz uses his style over these last 4 or 5 years, I think he gets caught by Sean O'Malley.
Yeah,
I think Sean O'Malley's jab is going to be real fast. I think that's going to stun him each time. I think he's going to end up throwing a combination to catch him off guard and drop him.
Yeah, it's gonna. I hope they fight. I do. I think Sean O'Malley might be booked for something already, but
let me look into it. But he's calling out a lot of people. He's called out Peter Yan, Dominic Cruz, a few other people.
But it's gonna be good because right now Sean O'Malley's been in the UFC he got in the UFC pretty young, and it'd be nice to see him actually break into the top 10 finally. He's not even ranked top 15 right now, which I think is nuts. But I mean, it's just one of these things where how serious can you start taking rankings at that point? But Dominic Cruz is ranked number 9. If Sean O'Malley's able to come in there and knock him out that spot, that'd be great. I think their styles are very, very different, but it's great to see him because both of them are very complex fighters. A lot of people cannot solve their puzzles at all. Sean O'Malley fights very long, but he's super fast. He's super powerful. He can knock somebody out, and he's definitely going to be the future of that division. Whether he's a title contender or the champion, but he's going to be in there no matter what. Then you have Dominic Cruz. I mean, that guy's fought for years, and only a handful of people have been able to solve that puzzle. I mean, I know Henry Cejudo has, Cody Garbrandt has.
Oof, that fight was so bad.
Yeah,
for Dominic Cruz.
And the thing is, just look at Cody Garbrandt. Most of his Team Alpha Male, had lost to.
Yeah. Took him how many losses to figure out how to beat Dominic Cruz?
It took way too many fighters for them to be like, hey, we finally got the one guy that can beat Dominic Cruz. And then after that, Cody Garbrandt's career went down after that. He just had a spiral.
Yeah,
he's coming back up. He's coming back up, which is really, really good to see. And he's a super entertaining fighter. But, I mean, both those guys' styles, I mean, it's just they're very unorthodox. And I'm going to really be looking forward to hopefully that fight gets made this year. So
his the other guy he called out was Pedro Munoz. Peter Yan turned down his fight apparently. And the other call out was Pedro Munoz. But Sean O'Malley's last tweet was, Pedro lucked out. I'm booked for July 10th, which is the Dustin Poirier Conor McGregor 3 fight card. Right. So
I like it. I like O'Malley being on those big fight cards as well.
Yeah,
Put all the eyes on him.
I won't understand it if it's the same thing as the Parr and Holtzkein fight.
Yeah,
those guys garner attention.
Yeah,
Sean O'Malley garners attention. So I think guys like that you want on the big attention cards just because they're exciting and they're going to make money.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not pushing him like they pushed Conor McGregor. They pushed him up real fast. They're not pushing Sean O'Malley so much anymore. I don't know if it's because of his drug addictions. I want to say addictions. He had a whole problem, or not problem, but a joke where he said he can't get addicted to heroin. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. But
look it up. It's interesting. But
I think it was good that they took a little bit of time with him first, though. And
I will typically think it's good when they give a young fighter time to grow.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird that they're not jumping on it because they tend to jump on guys like that, and they're not doing that with him.
Yeah, I mean, they're letting Adrian Yanez, same weight class, grow. Yeah. I'm excited to see what he does, man.
I really hope he grows because if Adrian Yanez has the time to grow, he's really gonna be a force because he already is a force with his hand speed. And his striking in general is really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think if he gets a chance to fight someone who gives him a challenge and he can kind of learn from it, I think it's going to set him up for a really successful career.
Like that's what the one fight I think I had told you that I'm excited about eventually that I feel like will happen is O'Malley versus Yanez. I think it's gonna be a very, very entertaining fight because Yanez is, I mean, his fight IQ, he shows it very, very well in his fights. He knows when to pick his shots. He knows when to throw his shots. He's a very, very smart fighter. And he's quick. He's powerful. I mean, he hits like a fucking featherweight or like a lightweight.
Yeah.
So he's putting guys out, man. And I'm excited to see how where those two guys line up in the next couple of years because I'm sure they're going to be fighting each other.
That would be a very good fight.
It'd be fun.
I feel like Sean O'Malley will try his best to be quick.
Yeah.
But I think if he at any point if he gets caught by Adrian Yanez, I think he doesn't realize how strong Adrian Yanez can be.
And I think Yanez, he puts it on him, he's gonna be like, shit, this is power, you know. But also with the same thing as Sean O'Malley, he's good at fighting long. He's a lanky guy. He's powerful too as well. And I think he would kind of struggle knocking out Adrian Yanez. He doesn't do bad, like make minor mistakes with leaning into punches or any of that. Like look at Thomas Almeida, that head kick that Sean O'Malley kept landing on him. Thomas Almeida kept going into it.
Kept leaning into it.
Yeah, and I don't see somebody like Adrian Yanez keep leaning into punches at all. And so it's definitely going to be something to look forward to. Keep your eyes out open for Sean O'Malley, what his next fight's going to be. I'm sure he's going to announce it pretty soon.
Yeah, he says he's booked for July 10th. He's not showing up as an announced fight yet.
No.
But the fights that are announced are Tai Tuivasa and Greg Hardy.
Ooh,
that's
I did see that. Yeah.
Gilbert Burns and Stephen Thompson's finally being talked about more. I hope that happens. That'll be a really fun fight. And then you got Ryan Hall has a fight. Ilya Topuria. Not sure who that is. Bad on me. Shame on me. But I'm excited to see Ryan's Hall name on a fight card.
I'm happy somebody finally took a fight against him.
Yeah, he needs it. He's such a freaking good fighter, and he just can't get a fight. Yeah. People are too scared to fight this nerdy-looking little child.
Yeah.
This kid who grew up and never changed how he looks.
Not at all. No.
He looks like a child with a cheap costume Abraham Lincoln beard.
But yeah, no, that's what I'm happy that Ryan Hall finally has a fight booked. But yeah, I mean, he something needs to happen with him though, because I mean, there's no way that guy can't just keep going with these long layoffs. You know, he's not getting any younger, and it sucks to see it. I don't blame them for not wanting to fight this guy though.
Yeah, I think that'll kind of wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
Everybody, let us know what you thought, and you know what they say: like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know if there's other things you'd like us to talk about. We've been considering a lot of things. We're pretty big. We grew up watching wrestling. We're pretty big fans of wrestling. There's a few things we we would like to talk about. But let us know if there's anything else you guys want to hear about. We're open to talk about pretty much anything. We're not going to be strictly an MMA podcast, but we can't help but talk about MMA, so we're going to. If there's anything else you guys want to let us know, just let us know.
Sounds good.